All right. Hi, everyone. I don't know if anyone is out there and watching, but welcome to my MADPD session, Maximizing Your Experience in Google Earth. My name is Kim Randall. You can follow along at Twitter. ScubaGirl812 is my Twitter handle. I'm going to just jump right to it, and we're going to go check out Google Earth. So Google Earth has been encoded for the web and launched 2 years ago. And you can get to it at google.com/earth. And once you're there, you just come over and click on Launch Earth in Chrome. And so I'm going to go ahead and launch it. And depending on your bandwidth, it may take just a second or two for it to load up. There we go. And once you're here, you're brought to a fairly simple user interface for Google Earth. You can drag to move the Earth around. You'll see the clouds load up. You can zoom in. As you zoom in, though, you will notice the clouds do disappear. So you can zoom in, zoom out, etc., etc. All right, so Google Earth, in its simplest form, you can come on over on the left-hand side. There are a bunch of things that you can do and use over here on the left. In its simplest form, you can come in and search for a location. So I can come in, click search, click Yellowknife, Northwest Canada, Northwest Territories, Canada, and it will zoom in and take you to that location. Once you're there, you will get info cards that will show up. Also, the option to fly to that location will be there. And you can also minimize these info cards. So if they're taking up too much space, you can use the little arrow to minimize them. Google Earth is taking a little bit of time to zoom in there. The info cards, also, when you click on them, it gives you a little bit of text, but then it'll take you to the deeper description of that location or that place and a map. And then what's neat about this too, there'll be specific like points of interest near that location. So you'll see here, we've got the Prince of Wales Northern Heritage Center, we've got Bush Pilots Monument, etc., etc. And you know what? I just realized I'm not sharing my screen. Sorry, everybody. There we go. Hopefully that fixes that. Dear, this is going a little crazy. Let's try this again. Okay. There we go. That should be a little bit better. Apologize. It is Sunday after a long weekend, so I apologize if I forgot to share. All right, so I was talking about these info cards. Let me go back a second. So google.com/earth, launch Earth in Chrome. And then we had gone and searched for a location, and I was talking about these info cards. These info cards over here give you some information about the location. When you click on it, it brings you into more detailed information about that location. The other neat thing about these two, and it'll give you some basic facts about that location, you can fly to one of the points of interest or one of the locations that other people search for. So I can come in and say, oh, let's go check out Beck's Sled Dog Kennels and Tours. And now it's going to take me to that location in Google Earth. Okay. So that's pretty slick. And again, if any of you are watching and you missed that because I didn't share my screen, right over here, there's a search. And we just went in and did a keyword search. So I searched for Yellowknife, Northwest Territories, and that's what brought up the info card. Okay. You'll also see in these info cards points of interest. And these actually come from that other page that we were just looking at, but you can flip through them and it's updating those locations in Google Earth too. Let's see where it put the marker for Great Slave Lake. Don't see it. But you can come in and flip through all the different points of interest. All right, so that is searching for a location. Over here, the next kind of item down is Voyager, and Voyager is a great space to come and learn about lots of different topics. Voyagers are like tours or stories that have multiple places they visit and have text and embedded media in them to tell a story or a narrative, etc. So you'll see the editor's picks. You can scroll through lots of different options, and then you'll notice the categories. So games. Just recently, Google launched the Where on Google Earth is Carmen Sandiego, based on the game Carmen Sandiego from way back. And then there are quizzes here as well. So there's some interactive things that you can participate in. You'll see, let's jump into Where on Google Earth is Carmen Sandiego, see what these look like. So it brings you into the game format, and you can go ahead and begin the chase. And what will happen, you're prompted into a welcome screen. Are you ready for your first assignment? The crown jewels have been stolen from London. This looks like the work of Carmen Sandiego and her crew of vile operatives. Sending you to the scene of the crime. Track Carmen Sandiego from London to her hideout and arrest her. Good luck, Gumshoe. And so then it brings you in to the clues. So use the magnifying glass for an interview. When you think you know where the suspect is, you can fly to that location. And then it brings you into the first clue here. And then it prompts you into information about a little bit intro about London. Choose a landmark. So we could go to Tower of London, Buckingham Palace, or Tower Bridge. Let's go to the bridge. There we are. Okay, so all I know is that she left in a vehicle flying a flag with a red circle. So if you know what flag has a red circle, then you can go ahead and fly there. And it gives you the choices to pick where to fly to. So we're going to go to Tokyo. So it's giving you clues in order to find our thief. Stole the crown jewels. Whoop, you must be on the right track. There she was for a second, etc., etc. So I'm not going to go through the whole thing during this session, but you get the idea. And let's just jump out of that. So the games look, there's another version coming soon. And then there's different quizzes as well. Travel quiz, holiday traditions, etc., etc. So I would expect to see more of these types of things coming to Google Earth down the road. I'm going to skip layers and come back to them. Nature. will have voyages wrapped around points of interest in nature. Lots of different options and places to go visit. Let's go into the U.S. National Parks and Historic Sites, just to show you what this looks like as well. Okay, so this one's got different locations. So starting off with Yosemite National Park, and we click on it and it flies you in there. And it brings you right into Street View. So we're now in Yosemite Valley. And we're looking at, I believe that's El Capitan. And there's a nice little walking path. And we could use the Street View and walk forward and kind of go through the valley. You'll notice there's a table of contents in this one. And as you scroll down in the little card here, you can see all the different national parks. And so I can come in and pick one. Oh, let's go to Mammoth Cave. And again, it gives you some information about the area. And it prompts you into the Street View. And you can simulate as if you were walking through that national forest. Let's see if we can get this to go. There we go. Now we're kind of walking down the path. All right, so that is an example of one of the Voyager stories from nature. Lots of different ones to choose from. You'll see it continues into culture. And things just around the world, places and locations, cultural interest around the world. And then travel. So Bollywood filming locations, trek through the Taj Mahal, discovering Machu Picchu, lots of famous places and places of interest to explore. And then there's also a category for education, which is fabulous. The Google Earth team is partnering and collecting stories and Voyager stories geared towards education that can be used in the classroom around all kinds of various topics. All right, then lastly, we're going to come over here to layers. And layers are things that you can turn kind of on and off on Google Earth. So you're going to see the 3D imagery, sea surface temperature, sea floor depth. I love this one, protecting Earth's wild places. So, you know, we've been unfortunately doing a lot of, you know, cutting down and destroying a bit of our forests. And so we can see in this National Geographic's Human Impact Map identifies what do we have remaining of our relatively untouched landscapes, meaning they haven't, you know, been subject to deforestation and cutting down of trees, et cetera, et cetera. And so you can come in here and zoom in and see. So the regions here have been identified as wild if they have low human populations and are places where nature is really relatively effective by activity to support human development. So, and you've got the different greens to show you very low impact. So meaning there's lots of decent amount of greenery and green space still available. And then low, or the very low, is the dark green, and then the low impact, where there's been maybe some development, but not too much. So, but it really gives you this nice visual of, wow, well, where do we still have massive amounts of green space and forests and vegetation, and where have we really impacted, by cutting down trees and impacting our forests and just our land in general. So it's pretty great visual. You can show the kids. And so that's a layer. And what's neat about the layers is you can toggle them on and off. So once I'm here, I can turn it off. If I wanted to go zoom in and look at something else, maybe some physical features, or maybe make some predictions or questioning, well, why is this area greener than say here in the Middle East, etc. Then I could toggle the layer back on and look to see how much green space we really do have in these locations. Okay, that's an example of a layer. Let's go back to another one. We've got historical maps from around the world. United States Congress districts. Seafloor depth is pretty slick. Go ahead and just click on that one so you can see that one as well. So this gives you a nice kind of guide here of depth. And you can obviously see that by our coastlines, things are not as deep. And the color coding really shows that very, very well. So the lighter blues are a little bit more shallow. And then we get into the dark blues where we have really, really deep ocean water. And then, of course, our coastal areas, lots of shallow areas. So that's a pretty slick layer as well. Also, if you are not on the US metric system, you can switch to meters as well. And then down here, of course, you still have the ability to toggle this layer, again, on and off. And your kids may come up with, well, why out in the middle of the ocean do we have some sort of shallow areas? And what might that mean and whatnot? So you can do some really neat questioning, inquiry, observations, etc., using these layers. All right, so those are layers. Awesome, and that's Voyager. So Voyager, again, great place to come in and find these kind of interactive stories, narrations, tours, etc. Over here, we have next one down, I'm Feeling Lucky. And this just takes you to a random location in the world. So this could be kind of a fun thing to do with your students as a bell ringer or wrap up the end of the day type of activity. Well, let's see where in the world we go in Google Earth and find out a little bit more about that location. Maybe do some writing about it. Examine distances. Where's this location near? Etc. etc. How might life be like living in that location? You can do lots of questioning with your kids, especially as you zoom out and start to see where some of these locations are based. So that's pretty slick right there. And again, you can still fly to that location using the little paper airplane on the info card. All right. The next one, this is called My Places. And this is where you can come in and save places that you found in Google Earth, and they go into your bookmarks. So if I come back up and search for a location, let's do Yosemite National Park. And we're going to zoom around and head right into Yosemite National Park. I may have this one saved already. And right over here in the info card, you have this little icon here, which is for bookmarking, and that will let you put it into My Places. And you'll see now it's here in my list of places. I can click Done. And so if I go back about, my business here in Google Earth and go search for another location. Oh, I don't know. Let's go to the Maldives today. And so we're zooming around, heading over to the Maldives. Awesome, there we are. But then I realized, oh, you know what? I need to go back to Yosemite. So I'm going to go ahead and click on it. And any of these places that I've saved in my bookmarks, I can fly to from anywhere on Earth. Okay. If my bookmarks get too busy, too many places in here, I can click Edit. And I can go in and delete locations. I can also turn them on and off so that they're visible or not in Earth. Oops, and I just deleted my bookmarks accidentally. That's okay. We'll go and add some more. Let's go back in and let's put Yosemite back in here. And we'll go back and add it to my places, and now we're here. Now I've got it back in my bookmarks. Okay. And then I could keep searching for locations. So maybe I want to go to Sequoia National Park. Click Save. And so it builds up my list in my bookmarks. And again, I can turn them on and off from being visible in Earth as well. If I want information about them, those little info cards will pop up if I click the little eye as well. Okay. So that's bookmarking in a quick nutshell. One of the other things too is you can import what's called a Kml file. You have to turn this setting on. Kml files can be found in lots of places, but mostly you can search for them online. But a Kml file is a Google Earth file from the classic Google Earth, and it will let you open up a tour that's a Kml file in Google Earth. So if you don't have that turned on, you'll need to come over to the little 3 bar and come into your settings. And down the very bottom, you'll come in and say Enable KML. Okay. Then you can go in and search the web for a KML file. Maybe you want a KML file that outlines 50 states. Or maybe you want a KML file that outlines the provinces in Canada. Or maybe you want a KML file that lists average rainfall. So you can go in and search for those on the web, download them, and then come back into My Places and import them. You can either upload it or you can put it in your Google Drive and then open it from Google Drive. So this was one that I had, and I need to make it visible, and had imported in. And let's see if we can get this one to start, just so you can see. And then if I don't want to see my other bookmarks, I can hide my bookmarks so that are not visible. All right, so here's the KML that I had imported in. And we're going to go to this first one. And so this actually came over from previous version of Google Earth that you had to install on your computers. So this was information just about how to use the controls. Okay. And then now we get into heading on our tour. So I'm just double clicking on the markers. The first is taking us to Children's Aid Society. It's taking us there. And then if I want to see information about it, I just click the little I. And you're going to see that you've got some videos, some images, some quotes, questions, all this text embedded in it. And again, this is something you could do and build in the previous Google Earth. And because it's KML, you could open it up and bring all of this in into the web-based Google Earth. So it's sort of their own version of creating a tour. All right. So that's what that is. As we just have a couple more minutes left, I'm going to zoom back out a little bit. You'll notice all the 3D buildings. Here we are in New York, it looks like. All right. One of the other things to note too in Google Earth, if you double click over here, this gets you into your rotation and your orientation for your 3D tilt. That's what gets you to be able to kind of move around and adjust your view, so to speak. When you're in Google Earth, if you double click again, double click your Earth, that pops back. And now you have your little navigation over here, double click it, and it lets you come in, lets you come in and do your zooming in, zooming out, and rotating on your location on Earth, which is pretty slick. Okay. Couple other things you can share. If you want to share a location, you can click the share link. You can get a link, which will just copy. You can copy the link. Of course, you can share it on Facebook and Twitter, and also Classroom. So if those of you that are using Google Classroom with your students, you could share links to locations that you want your students to visit, and that'll take them right to those locations, which is pretty slick. Okay. You also can do some measuring on Earth. So let me zoom out a little bit. That's what this this ruler is. Now you'll notice these little markers are kind of thumbtack looking markers are still here because in my places, I still have this Kml file turned on, so I can turn it off if I wanted to. Turns it on, turns it off. Okie doke. Measuring. I can come in. And as I measure, you'll notice, or as I click, it's calculating the distance for us. And then if I connect it, it also gives me the area and the perimeter. What's neat about this is I can switch the units of measurement as well. So you've got centimeters, meters, kilometers, nautical miles if you're doing something in ocean, inches, feet, yards, miles, and smoots. That's for perimeter. And then you also have your area, which is pretty cool. You can also you can come and click to stretch it out. So once you've closed the shape, this is all stretchable. So you can expand it out. So don't worry too much about making your shape being perfect the first time, because then you can come in and adjust it. All right. Awesome. So that is measuring on Google Earth in a very quick nutshell. I think that's about it. Also, lastly, over here, you can switch from 3D to 2D. You just toggle that off. You basically turns off the 3D buildings. Okay. And then you also can turn on Street View. So that's Google Maps' Pegman, and Pegman has gone around and collected 360-degree imagery. Let's zoom in over here on New York, for example. 360-degree imagery where you can now be taken into one of those images. And so you'll see anywhere that's blue, that means there's been imagery that's been collected for that location. So I can come in, click on anywhere that's blue, and it's going to take me right into that 360-degree image as if I'm standing right there on that street. Currently, right now, the best way to share these street view locations, if you want to take your students or just sharing in general, is to grab this whole link. And that will take you, give you the link to share. All right, well, I think my time, unfortunately, is up already. Let me see if I've had anybody actually on this session. Is good. Okay, cool. Well, thank you all. If anybody joined in, thank you all for joining. And that was a quick run through of Google Earth. Well, let's see what the watch page looks like. And that was a quick run through of Google Earth. Well, let's see what the watch page looks like. And that was a quick run through of Google Earth. Well, let's see what the watch page looks like. And that was a quick run through of Google Earth. Well, let's see what the watch page looks like. All right, I'm going to stop sharing. And that was a quick run through of Google Earth.